welcome Melissa Lithgow to Branducopia. Melissa is a strategic marketing expert and consultant who has worked with global brands like KPMG and Caterpillar. Leveraging her creativity, critical thinking skills, and vivacious energy, Melissa creates and executes sales and marketing and people management strategies for companies to become more efficient and achieve growth and profitability. Alongside that, Melissa is a mother of three and a lover of true crime podcasts and stilettos. So welcome, Melissa, to our session. A truly important question to start us off is we have a fellow shoe lover on the Branducopia team. I love a good shoe. And Alicia, you love a good shoe?
I used to work in shoe department, so yes.
Oh, heaven.
Yeah, it was.
So tell me, is it true that you have over 80 pairs of stilettos, and how do you store them all?
It's very true, but it's way over that now because I need to update that. And I'll send you a photo. They are absolutely beautifully displayed. It's taken up a whole walk-in closet. But it is my happy place. So, yes.
Everyone needs their happy place, right?
Oh, so much. And they always fit. Doesn't matter what size I am, my shoes always fit. So it's all good.
True. So true. So, question, what's the latest pair of stilettos that you've purchased?
Oh, it was an online purchase and it came. And it turned out to be a lot brighter than we thought. So it actually looks like I can wear it on the side of the road and do some construction work. But I'm looking for a black jumpsuit. I have a vision.
Brilliant.
Go of it.
I'm a big advocate for shoes being the best accessory to an outfit. So
amazing. Yeah. It always looks good. It has to pop. Something about your personality has to pop.
I love it. I think it's amazing. I'm impressed that you keep them so neat and that you have the ability to wear so many. one a day for the year or so. But so we'll go to some other questions now. So we had a squiz at your work history and you've done so many things from project and change management to having your own clothing boutique. What? How did you get into marketing?
It was a bit of an evolution. So I did marketing years and years and years ago when I just finished school. So obviously way back when, in the olden days, like my boys would say. And it never became a career for me though. And I obviously when we came to Australia and South Africa, I was in the financial services and mining industries. And there was a bit of marketing, everything's marketing if you think about it. But there was a bit of marketing in those roles. There was a lot of customer liaison, keeping high-end clients happy, and knowing how to deal with people and sort of, sometimes play to ego or motivators, or you had to really truly know who you were talking to and how to structure all the communications and stuff to them. So when we came to Australia, I sort of thought, let's try something new. And I went into project management because it was the buzzword back then. And, my husband was in it and it just felt like, I managed 3 boys and a household, and I can do this, which I could. But it is difficult when you have all the responsibility, but you've got none of the real pull to make any decisions. And I found that very frustrating. And the thing that I leveraged most was the fact that I could talk to people. I knew how to get the best out of them because I knew what was important to them. And it did become a partnership more than a management sort of outlook. Even, no system is perfect. No process is perfect. It's always the people. And you can have this perfect system and process. And if the people on board, it's not going to work. So very quickly realized that in my project management, and leveraged those skills that I had in before, the people management skills. And, people refer to it nowadays as soft skills, but there's nothing soft about it because it takes a lot of work. And then in order to do that, it sort of exposed all these things that, the simple fact that I communicated with people made all the difference. And that was stakeholders across the board. So whether it was an internal client, whether it was, on site, with Caterpillar, I did the autonomous haulage, the first project, proof of concept project for BHP. And, we would have issues on site with equipment being damaged purely because people just didn't know what was happening, and there was fear, right? You had people in roles for 30, 40 years, and they were just about to retire, and suddenly there's this truck doing their job. So, it went deeper than just issuing an instruction from management, especially when you're talking site and Perth-based. So I sort of formalized that change aspect of it and the communication, and brought that into the project, the discipline, and just, getting all the tech sort of people on board and telling the story a little bit more, and proving the concept that communication does work, and actual verbal communication, seeing your face, asking about your kids, remembering the little things. It's not just an email or a change request or something that gets sent through. There's a person at the end of each and every, whether it's a transaction or a job or a task, there's a person at the end of it. And just keeping that in mind is what makes the difference, and what definitely made the difference for me in the project management and change management areas. It was the best of times and it was the worst of times. And I loved the job, loved everything about the technology, loved, dealing with so many different personalities. You'd have right from an operator through to the IROC in the city. You'd have senior management, lots of personalities, but I thrive on that. So it wasn't as difficult for me to manage because it came naturally, but it really was for some people in the team. Anyway, so I had a bit of burnout because, you sort of want everything to work perfectly. And as high achieving women know, we don't let things just fall apart. Mm-hmm. When we should, right? Sometimes we should just let it fall apart. But I saw it as a personal failure instead of just, letting things happen. But anyway, I had a bit of burnout, ended up in ICU for 10 days with sepsis. And it was sort of a wake-up call because I'd gotten to the point where I was so sick, I literally drove myself into hospital thinking I could just get seen quickly and then go back to work.
Oh, wow.
Ended up fainting in emergency. And like I said, the rest is history. And it was a wake-up call for me to say, listen, my wheel of life is completely broken. And I had to reassess things very quickly. So I went back into work, but I just couldn't deliver at the level that I was delivering at before. And to be honest, realistically, no one could. Anyway, so I had to make peace with that. And I decided to maybe take a little bit of a break and see what a stay-at-home mum does. And I've never had that luxury or, never done that before. And I did for 3 months, and then I was completely bored. And my boys go, "You just fine, get a job, just leave us alone." And I thought, okay, well, I'll just start like a little online boutique, and it'll keep me busy. It's something I enjoy. It's not high pressure, but I'll also get to learn a couple of new things and sort of put those more formal marketing skills that I had way back when, sort of test those out and see what's stayed the same and what's changed. And that very quickly grew into a bricks and mortar store. And I got very quickly very bored. So again, so sold that up, and again was at the crossroads of what is it that I really want? Like what is it that actually inspires me? Because yes, I went from one extreme to the next where corporate was all go, like all the time, 100%. And the boutique was, it was all go again, but it wasn't filling my cup in terms of feeling good about it, if that makes sense. So I started consulting, and I just went out and sort of wanted to get a lay of the land of Perth. Perth is a very different market than the rest of Australia. And just seeing what people were doing in their businesses and what was out there, and what opportunities and what challenges, and doing a bit of my own market research that way, and also building up some of those connections that you sort of forget about while you're in the thick of it, that are so important in the long run. And so I sort of started, that's where Melissa Lithgow Consulting was born, because I could pivot into anything that I felt I wanted to, because it became more about the passion and about what I could get out of it at that stage. So that's where we are now. It has evolved a little bit, and as it should. Every business sort of regenerates every 3 years. And if you're staying, if your business has just been the same thing for the last 20, there's, is it really working? And sometimes it is, it does, depending on your industry. But in consulting, it's very fast moving, because you have to keep up with your clients and the markets out there. So, that's where we are now.
That's really cool.
Wow.
That's really cool. From when you started, obviously, in marketing, like back way when you mentioned about like the clothing boutique, and then gone into like consulting, what were like obviously things, your approach has changed over the years. Do you feel like there's some big key milestones or learnings that you got from that? And can you highlight a couple of them, if that's okay?
Yeah. So for me, it was, I've always been a gatherer of people and relationships and friendships and things. So, you've got friendships that go all the way back to primary school, or and also being an immigrant, I realize how big a gap in your life there is if you don't have those things. But I never thought of taking those people along on my journey. There was a very much a box for friends, and then there was a box for colleagues, and there was a box for acquaintances and things. But in doing this, the more people you have on your side, the better. So it's not, I did feel a bit strange telling people, oh, hey, if you know someone that could use X, let me know, because I didn't want to sell to my friends or put them in that position. But you very quickly learn that people want to be part of your journey, and if they, they want to see you succeed. Obviously, if you have the right people in your life, but and just the opportunities, and even just thinking, feedback and perspective that it brings from different perspectives, right? So you sort of question things, and there's always value in that. And it's okay for me, because my friends know I'm not a multi-level marketer trying to sell them, I don't know, no offense to Tupperware, but Tupperware.
I love Tupperware.
Yeah.
I love it too. I always fall, but that's right. That's why, right? Because I always fall for it. And then afterwards, I'm like, oh, I got sucked in again.
I didn't need those 10 new containers, though.
But that's not what I wanted for my friends to feel about me, right? I didn't want them to cringe every time they saw my name on the phone. But in doing that and actually sharing the journey, they felt like they were part of it, and they actually they didn't feel isolated. And I thought I was protecting them, but they felt like I was excluding them. So big learning curve there for me is take people along. Give them what everyone. It's like a potluck. Bring what you want to and take what you need. Right? It's just whoever comes along. This is what's on the table tonight, and let's just share life. So that's been a huge learning curve for me. Not trying to do everything on my own. Those two walk hand in hand. Showing that vulnerability and saying, I need help, or I don't know, or I don't understand, or this one's got me stumped. Like, what has your experience been?
Mm-hmm.
Or just sometimes going, I need 5 minutes. I never did that. And I'm really still developing that. I'm still really bad at it. But at least I've got the awareness now that when it reaches a certain point, which is also still way too high, but I can sort of step away and say, okay, time out. So those two things have been very, very pivotal for me. And also the realization that at any stage in your business, especially if you're a solopreneur or an entrepreneur or a small business owner or an SME, you need a coach because it's lonely. It is fast moving. You don't have time, literally. That's why it's so exhausting, because we're constantly trying to map those neuro pathways as we go. You don't have the luxury of coming in the morning and sitting in front of your desk and doing the same thing almost on autopilot. Mm-hmm. You are constantly, what's the process? I don't know. Let me think about that. And then you have to go and map it out and do all the work, right? And it's taxing. And trying to do it 10 times and failing it or finding 10 wrong ways of doing it, whereas you could just put it out there and say, this is what I'm doing. Help me. What's worked for you guys? Or, in your realm, what hasn't worked? What should I stay away from? What lessons do I need to learn? You're buying time. So, and it makes you a lot more engaged in your business and a lot less frustrated. Mm-hmm. So, getting a coach and not playing small. Don't tell yourself like we are the worst at keeping ourselves small. Mm-hmm. Sit back and dream big, and that's the coach that you want, because the growth that you'll see will be exponential within for time and for ability and capability. Mm-hmm. And it's worth it. So if you're going to go through all of that and all the hard, it's hard work. If you're going to go through it anyway, you might as well aim for the stars and just get, whatever you get then is money for jam.
I absolutely love that. And I think it aligns so well with what we're trying to achieve at Branducopia as well, is like community and bringing people together, not having a fear of asking those questions and sharing learnings. And I think nail on the head with that one. I do have a follow-on question. Do you ever have a fear around asking for help or for those questions, or does that fear ever leave? I'd love to know. No. Nope.
I don't think it does. It hasn't for me. And I don't, and the feedback that I have from, women they've got businesses with $3 million turnovers, and it doesn't leave. Mm. It is a personality trait that we have, unfortunately, but it's also the thing that motivates us to do really good work, because we have that, I need to do this, I need to sort it out. I have that internal motivation, and we have very high standards and levels of working. And getting it wrong is just not an option. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword. It hasn't left for me, but I know now also the pain that it brings if I don't do that. So it sucks. It's like public speaking, probably. You don't. Everyone hates it, but it's the best thing you can do for your brand.
Interesting. Well, there you go. Hot tip there, public speaking people. All right. So moving on, I feel like as a business owner, and as whether it's small business, large, medium, whatever, marketing can feel like a bit of a beast. So we'd love to break it down a little bit and talk about, when we talk about marketing strategy, what are some of the key elements or pieces that make up a good strategy?
So what I run through with my clients is, like I said, map out where you want to be, and we reverse engineer everything from there. So what is it that you want for your business in terms of growth? Like, what does growth mean to you? Is it money? Is it social impact? Is it, extra locations? Growth is different for everyone. But be very clear about, in 5 years, I don't do 10-year plans, because I just feel that life is too volatile, business is too volatile, people are too volatile at the moment. So it's nice to have that sort of in the back of your mind, but we started a 5-year, a 3-year, and a 12-month plan. and we map out our key milestones at each. So it's absolutely what is the best case for you. Dream big, like I said, always. If we achieve 70% of that, it's still 100% more than we would have if we dreamt small. And then from there we sort of map out the activities that get us there, and the resources and the processes or skills or whatever it is that then we need to support that goal. But if we don't know where we're going, it makes the day-to-day really difficult. And I think that's where most of my clients fail, because we all sort of jump into a business and we're like, oh, and we've got our own business now, and we have to make enough to pay rent and feed the kids, but where are we really going with this, right? And I feel that's where the frustration comes in, and that's when it becomes hard, because everything that you're doing is sort of reactive. There's nothing proactive. You have no control over anything. You feel like you're just, treading water, because there's no vision or there's no anchor for you to say, okay, this is why we're doing this. It's going to be icky for the next 3 months, but at the end of it, there's this, which then enables the next step, right? So it's tough. It's tough, thinking about where it is that you want to go, what it is that you actually want. And it's not just in business. I mean, it influences your personal life. It influences your personal vision and mission values, because that then sort of translates into the business, right? So if you have a business that's completely out of sync with what you want out of life and as a person, it's going to be even harder, because nothing is just going to come naturally to you. So there's a lot of work that got, like, almost soul searching, if you want to call it that goes into that before you can actually even think about business. And unfortunately, we like I said, we jump in, we have this business and it's all great. And then you're trying to do all the hard things plus all the emotional stuff. And that's when we fall over, because it's too much.
I love that. I think I know me personally, looking forward is very scary. I don't know why. I find it so, I don't know, there's something that bubbles up inside of me that I'm like, oh, that 5 years is a long time, because I love to fly by the seat of my pants. But
but that's also a strategy, right? Yeah, that's also a strategy.
So I do. I think I know we've spoken in the past around, looking forward and things like that. And I do now believe there is obviously method behind the madness, but it still scares me a lot. And so is it okay for that 5-year goalpost to change?
100%. That's why you're doing this stuff, right? And like I said, your business has to sort of evolve every 3 years. And as a person, we change. It is always just checking in with that long-term goal and going, is that even relevant still? I mean, that's why I do annual strategy workshops with my clients, because it changes.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay. That's good to know. Because I feel like sometimes you hear strategy and you set these targets and then you're like, oh, well, I have to meet them. Like, I have to do everything in my power. I can't change my mind now. Like,
look, I think it's a bit of a balance there, where you're like, if you feel that way just because you don't want to do hard things, then it's an issue, and it sort of uncovers a lot of personal issues, I find. Because you're asking those very deep questions, you go, well, really? I don't even know. I don't even know for myself what I want. Like, why don't I want this? And you sort of start thinking, you go very deep very quickly. But if it's because it's truly not aligned with you, then change it.
Yeah.
That's why we're doing this for ourselves. Like, this is not easy. Most days I sit and think, maybe corporate's back. Maybe I should go back to corporate. Like, what
don't do it. No.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, that you do this for that freedom and for the capacity to say no, or the ability to change. And take it to whatever you want it to be. Just what I'm sort of strategy anchors your activities. And that's really important when you're going through the day-to-day, because it sort of takes away decision fatigue, where instead of you having 500 decisions or options, it sort of makes the choice for you, where, okay, if that's not part of the strategy, then half of those options are gone already. So let's focus on these. It makes business more easeful.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I like the reality of things as well comes to play, right?
Yeah,
it does, doesn't it?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I know we speak a lot about the branding side of things, and we are in communication about branding stuff. But how does your brand impact the marketing strategy side of things for you personally, and even just for clients that you've seen?
It's the one sort of dictates the other, right? Because your brand is who you are and your marketing is where you show up. And it's the message that you put out there. So the brand is you on a plate, basically. It's all those vision, mission, values. Where do we want to be? Why are we doing this on a plate? So it has to communicate that very clearly. And visual it's so important. People have formed, within a couple of split seconds, they formed an opinion of that brand and whether they align with it or not. So as much as marketing's always, it's always important, your messaging's always important, that visual element is what grabs people first. And if there's a dissonance between that and the marketing, it makes marketing's job a lot harder, because you have to sort of get that cognitive dissonance, bridge that gap before you can even go into messaging, before you can go even into anything else. So, it's, I love anything visual. If we can cut words down into an infographic, even better. Just because, so everyone's visual. Everyone likes a visual message. But if you look at the landscape that we're in, and it's all electronic and social media and that stuff, we don't have time to tell a long story. So the visual hook you, and then you can tell your story. And that needs to be good too. And they need to align. Again, if you haven't done the who and why and what work, the deep work, it makes that bit really difficult, because you don't know who you are, you don't know what you stand for, you don't know why why should people even look at me as a brand or a product, or who do I want to attract, where do they show up, so that they all align. You have to do the hard work. Sorry.
No, it's good. It's good. And you can tell, because I'm looking in the back of your office area and you've got Post-it notes, and I know you're a visual person. So even mapping out visually that way is very dynamic.
It gets noise in your head. You're basically just taking all the noise out of your head and putting it on. You're downloading. If you're a computer, you could download. And then you just feel so much lighter. You're more engaged, and I can see a plan forming on the board as I move these Post-its around. And I mean, I feel so in control when I walk out, instead of overwhelmed and still mulling through all these thoughts.
Yeah, that's cool. So you've sort of touched on the difference between branding and marketing. I want to ask, who do you think, and you don't have to be like biased or anything, but it's not biased, but who do you think is doing really good branding and marketing together, or you've seen examples of that, even maybe your clients or just out there in the news?
If I look at, I always go, excuse the pun, I always go to skincare, because I resonate with them. I like the cheek. I like the tone of voice. I love the why behind the brand. I love that it's local. I love that it's women. And that experience, the tone of the copy, the tone of the words it's always a bit cheeky and a little bit, they don't take themselves too seriously, right? Life is hard enough. So let's not make skincare a problem too. And, the experience is the same. It doesn't matter if I see the ad on social media or if I get a flyer. or when I order and I receive my order and the box that it comes in has a little cheeky message on it, and the packaging. So whichever touch point I speak to the brand or experience the brand on, it's always the same experience. It's always a good news story. It's always, happy. It's customer service. They're very relatable. They people at the end of the line. They don't make you feel like one of the numbers. And if you look at the numbers, they've got huge numbers, right? But each and every person is an individual to them, or at least you feel like you are. And that's really difficult to get to. They're doing everything right for me. In terms of the visual, the logo is easy, right? It just makes you go, oh. The coloring is calm, but it's I don't know how to explain it. It just makes me feel like fresh. I just want to put it on, right? And I'm in a good mood already because I've just received this amazing package and it's so funny and I'm still giggling about it. And, it's just exactly what they wanted. And if you look at Zoe, that's her on a plate. So again, you have to sort of reflect who you are in your business. And it doesn't mean, if you're in cybersecurity, of course, it's going to be very different, but then leverage the trust aspect of it, leverage the thought leader aspect of it, really make people feel like I've got you. I understand you. I know what issues you have, but I'm here and I'm on top of it. And that comes through in, like I said, the messaging, make it easy for them to understand. Don't overwhelm them when they already feel out of control in something so important in their business, It's all those little touch points. So, yeah, brand experience, marketing, branding, those three to me are like the holy grail.
That's cool. And just to follow on, how has your own marketing evolved over time? Ooh.
It's like, is that a loaded question?
So many mistakes. So this is where all this sort of conditioning comes in, what everyone else thinks you should do, or even what you think, corporate conditioning. I was very used to having all of that stuff done for me, and I was just part of this big fancy brand, and there was security there. But because also they did it really well, I always knew exactly what the brand was about, and I could easily communicate that. But it also gave me an out where if there was a tough conversation, I could just go, oh, well, sorry, it's just not, the way they do it. So when you are the brand, it's very confronting and it's very difficult. So you have to, I got lost in that when I started, and it made everything a lot more difficult. Like I said, even just, finding out what I stand for and what I don't stand for. What clients do you want and which ones do you not like, and being okay with the fact that I could say no to people. And that I actually should, because it's, if there's no such thing as a bad client, but a client that doesn't fit my brand will impact my community, right? So I have an obligation to the people that do fit my brand and that do work well together to keep that toxicity and difficulty out of it, so that they continue to have a good experience and build their networks, because I'm very much, that's what I'm about. I love my people connecting with each other, because that's where the juice is. That's where the secret sauce is. That's where the lessons are. That's where the support is. And it's all those things that I didn't do in the beginning. But again, you learn this as you go, and you sort of have to sort of feel the pain to learn the lesson almost. So, but then learn the lesson, don't keep the same mistakes. Don't build your confidence from those lessons, because you've earned it. You've paid it. You've paid your dues. You've earned it. It's like if I go out and I meet people in terms of the business development side, and I always try and provide value, but then once we've added the value, I've almost earned the right to approach them and say, okay, well, what's working in your business? Do you want to have a chat? So It's always leading by value first. So yeah, that's what's changed for me. It's that confidence that you take away in having made those mistakes and saying no. Yeah.
I think 100%. Like there's two things. Like no is a full sentence, and I think we forget that as business owners, as women. No is a full sentence, and it's okay. I know that when I first started, I'd take anyone that came into my inbox, but now I have learned that those projects end up being some of the worst. I can't stand working on them. I wake up in the morning and I dread opening them. So is there any point? No. And it took me a while, but no, there's not. And then fail fast is the other one. And I've always had fail fast, and then it's done. It's done and dusted. Move on. It's a huge one.
Yeah, and we had an experience with a client, not a client, a peer, who said, she had an employee, excuse me, and she tried to coach this employee for 8 months to went through all of it, sort of did the personal development, did sunk money into courses, did all of this, and the employee just wasn't the right fit for the company. And she has teams across Australia of people doing the right thing and behaving the right way. And there was literally one person and because she felt like it was a personal failure for her that she couldn't get this person across the line, she let that behavior and that person stew for too long in her teams. And the teams became disengaged, and they started feeling like, well, there's two sets of rules, one for us who we're doing the right thing and showing up the right way. And then we've got this disengaged, toxic sort of person there, and they're getting more investment into them. Like, how's this working? So in retrospect, she was like, she needed to realize very quickly that it was her issue driving that. But it's a lesson, right? So next time is the sort of Elon Musk's ethos of hire fast, fire faster. Because again, she's got an obligation to the team, to the people that are performing, to keep them safe and make them feel recognized, right? Because of course it takes effort to do the right thing. It's easy to not do the right thing. And why would they put in all that effort if the other person is getting all the benefits? So it's just, you sort of have to check yourself in what behaviors you're driving. You may have the right intent and all good intent, but there's other people in it too, especially if you have teammates or even virtual teams or and it's those messages. It's like branding, like we say, visual. It's those messages. It's not just branding or marketing. It's absolutely in how you conduct yourself and the language that you use and what you allow and what you don't, who you let in and who you don't. So yeah, it's there's a lot. There
is a lot. I feel like we could easily talk for a couple of hours on this sort of stuff. Because out of that, I hear things like, employee engagement and how we could talk about the branding, internal branding and how you talk to your employees. There's so much, but we'll move on to the next question as I digress. So as a solo business owner, as we all are, what would you consider when building your own strategy? We spoke about those 3-9, those month intervals. But beyond that, what's something that's super, super key that I just can't forget to include in my strategy as a solo business owner who may not have a full team to be able to implement everything?
Yeah. It's just clarity. Be very clear on, and it comes down to doing the work in terms of, 5 years, 3 years, 12 months. What do we want to achieve for each of those sort of points? And vision, mission, values comes back to that because it all has to be in sync with each other. The other stuff is just tasks. It's just the things that we do. It's the stepping stones that we step on to get to the goal. And if we don't know what the goal is, there's too many stepping stones, and we're sort of going to get lost in the shiny thing, right? Where it's like, oh, I could do this, and oh, I could do this. And we don't really give anything the chance to work. We don't really qualify anything as working or not, because we're on to the next thing before we can sort of, before anything can take off. And marketing is not a one day, it's not a one hit wonder. It's not a 3-month exercise. It is tough, and it is long term, and it is consistent. So just be clear on that. If I could do it again, that's what I would do, is I would do a lot more work in consciously going through that, instead of having it or doing it because now everything's fallen apart and I don't know who I am or what I want. And everything's hard.
Fair point.
Yeah, and then consistency, like I said, if we're clear on that, it's not if anyone says it's a magic bullet, or if they've got this, make this in 30 days, stay clear. It's a marketing message. It's not going to work. It's designed to take your money and leverage your fear. Just keep doing what you're doing. If you have the vision and you've quantified what you need in terms of are there clients there? Are people actually, do people actually want the product that I have or the service that I have? Then just keep going. It's about consistency, and that breeds trust, which breeds sales.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that. I agree with the consistency, because that makes a huge difference. So yeah, the next question we've got is, the goal of marketing is ultimately, let's be real, to get leads and clients, which is what you said, trust. Consistency builds trust, which then builds sales. Yay! So for you personally as a consultant, how do you market to get clients, or how do you even suggest for clients how, obviously, there'd be a strategy involved, but can you give us some insight into how you go about that?
So I feel like marketing's goal is to build relationships, because business happens as if it's just a byproduct. If people trust you and they know about you and they remember you, the decision's made. So when the opportunity comes up, you are front of mind for them, and there's no one else really that they trust, and that's, of course, they're going to do business with you. So for me, marketing is about building those trusted relationships. And if people feel heard and they feel seen, and they feel like you have the solution for them, and you keep showing up day by day, so you are consistent, you're always there with something to add, whether they need it or not in that moment, it almost becomes soothing, right? It's like, I see these top 3 people in my feed every day. I might not need their service or their product right now, but it's nice seeing them there, and it feels like, oh, okay. And when you don't, you're like, oh, something feels off today. So that's what you want. That's what you want to get to. You just want to stay top of mind and be that trusted supplier or friend or advisor or whatever it is that your brand is putting out there. And that all comes back to, decide on your, decide on one rule. So one platform, so whether, social media platform, if we're talking digital marketing, and then one sort of activity. So are you going to do blogs? Are you going to do newsletters? Or just start with one platform and one product. So it's easy for you to actually do that day by day by day, because it's one thing, it's not overwhelming for you, and you can structure it and all of that. But they also know, without knowing, that there's always something coming in, right? So there's a bit of that trust. And always add value. Like I said, don't just post for the sake of posting. Don't post the same things 7 times. Good Lord, don't take ChatGPT, copy, paste it word for word. We are not stupid. Your customers and clients and audience is not stupid. it's actually quite insulting. So be consistent and just add value, whatever it is. Whether you are adding value by making them laugh for the day, and that's as much as it's going to be, that's fine. Whether you're adding value by giving them tips and tricks, or whatever it is, just don't be that guy. And I'm not like I'm not having a go at ChatGPT. I love it as it's a fan. Like, I've seen my clients actually do things because they've got a starting point.
Yeah.
But use it as inspiration. Use it as a sanity check. It's not. Don't be lazy.
It definitely has its place in business today. Yeah. And I know I personally use it for. It's like when I'm trying to think of something and I just need, it's like having my own little virtual assistant that I don't trust them word for word, if that makes sense.
When you're sitting in your cubicle and you're like, oh, what's the word for this? And you can stand up and say, what's the word for this? Or what else? I've got X, Y, and Z. What else have you got?
Yeah.
That's what it should be. It's a sounding board and it's a starting point. But let's not do that.
I love that. No, I like that. I like it's your cubicle buddy.
Yeah.
Your virtual cubicle buddy.
Yeah, because most of us don't have anyone else in the office, right? So it's just you and your thoughts. So yeah.
So further on to, so one of the things I just love that you said just then, I think it just boils it down and simplifies it so much around focusing on one platform and one service, offer, product, whatever that may be, and just that being your path forward, because I think it can get really messy quite quickly when whether you provide products or services, whatever that may be. So how do I know as a business owner where my clients hang out? Like, how do I understand? Because I speak to someone, they're like, oh, I've got to use LinkedIn. LinkedIn's your place. And they're like, oh, no, Instagram, because of, the visual side of things. Like, how do you quantify, understand, and move forward with that?
So it's a lot easier than people think. At the end of the day, you sort of have to think, who is signing the check, right? So, because that's your market. Where are they showing up? Is it LinkedIn? Like, if it's a corporate, of course it's LinkedIn, because that's where people show up in corporate. If you've got a product-based business, fantastic. Instagram is visual. That's be there. But it also just depends on some of the products, right? So build your avatar. Do your research in terms of what are their motivators? What's going to make them, what pain points are going to make them buy your service or your product? What is their age? What's their psychographics? What's the demographics? Build the avatar. And then if you assume, like, look at people like that and see, okay, I assume it's going to be Instagram. Go onto your competitors' websites, see where they show up, see what they are doing. Doesn't mean you're going to steal all their stuff, but why do you want to go and reinvent the wheel? Start showing up there. Be authentic in what you do and the message that you put out there. But you don't have to start all over. Go and look on Amazon, look on book reviews. If you have a book, in your industry, go and have a look at the pain points and the things and the people on there. Go stalk them on LinkedIn. Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on Instagram? Do your research, right? It's going to take time. But again, it comes back to knowing who you are, what you stand for, and who you want to reach. So be very clear on that. Have a good starting point. You can ask your people. If you are on Instagram and you're on LinkedIn and you're on Facebook and put the question out there, be vulnerable and say, I'm finding it really difficult to show up on all these platforms. So by a poll, like, where would you want to see more of my posts or more of my content, or which bit do you enjoy more? Right. So you constantly have to ask people. But also, like I said, keep an eye out on what other people are doing, and leverage the time that they've spent on doing that. And if you think, if there's something in your gut that says, man, I really think there's something in this, even though everyone's on this side, test it. It's the only way you can know. But be very clear in, okay, I'm testing it across these parameters. So if it's sales or if it's brand awareness or if it's, whatever it is that you want out of it for this period of time, and then make your assessment, right? So work with the data that you have and not just assumptions, and stop flogging a dead horse. Put your attention and your effort into the stuff that is actually working for your people.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love that. It's brilliant.
Yeah. That's cool. The whole time you're talking, the words I get while you're talking is like relationship marketing. It's all like, it's relationship, right? And I think it's more important in this kind of world now, an increasing like digital world, that we are more relational. But further on that is, what is your stance on tangible versus like real life versus face-to-face or hands-on offerings or products? What's your stance on that, as in what we've just spoken about? I hope that makes sense.
People buy from people, right? So good old private the neck. So it doesn't matter what widget you sell. If they don't connect with you and trust you, they're not going to buy from you, because there's 20 other widgets in the same market, right? So it is that relationship first, and it is getting to know you, or your, if it's not a you in front of as the brand, it's your brand. But what does that stand for? It is almost a person. So they have to be able to connect with that. But if they don't, they're going to move on to the next one, because there's going to be something keeping them from putting that credit card details in there, and they'll feel it as distrust. They're going to go, oh, I don't know, my gut says, I don't know if this is trusted. I don't know. They say this, but then this is what they say they ethically, sustainable, but then it's leather, and it's like, oh, I don't know, there's something that doesn't marry up here. So if they're lying to me, can I even give them my card details? Like, am I going to be safe there? So it's 100% relationship based, in product or relationship.
So you've started doing connected marketing lunches, right? Which is relational, right? And I've been, it's great. I love it. But what motivated you to launch your connected marketing strategy lunches? So
for me,
breakfast.
It's multifaceted, because number one, there's a bit of social listening that happens there. So I invite everyone. So whoever's in my network can come along, and there's social listening for me in terms of what's happening in the industry, what's happening with people, what is good, what's the bad, what's the ugly, how are people feeling. Number two, I get people to connect with each other, even though it's just a quick one, like it's a breakfast or a quick lunch, but they can take away that conversation and go and have that one-on-one connection there. And it's trusted people within the industries that we work with, because there's a lot of noise, and there's a lot of good marketers out there who don't deliver, unfortunately. And that has cost me in my business a lot of money. It's cost me a lot of frustration, and it's cost me a lot of self-doubt, because I ended up trusting the wrong people. And I didn't want to be jaded anymore. So why not get all the good people in the room together? I get something out of it, they get something out of it, and at the end of the day, everyone walks away with something, whether it's, like I said, whether it's a new contact or a new relationship or a new perspective on things, or, a collaboration opportunity, or there's just so much to be said for it. And it's a good little face-to-face beats digital, it beats hands down. Unfortunately, it's not a sustainable model. So, you have to be very clear on what actually you want out of it, and guide the process or the engagement to that. It's not just about showing up and having a cup of coffee and walking away, right? Everyone needs something out of it in order to justify the time that you spend away from your business. And for me, I have to respect the fact that the attendees are taking time away from their business. So I have to deliver something for them, right? Make it worth their while. But yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one for brand building. It makes people realize very quickly what it is that you do. It's a good one for market positioning. Again, people know exactly how they can work with you. You know, they can recommend people. They can, I've had people come back and say, oh, I've thought about that, and maybe you should look into this. And I'm like, oh, that's a very good idea. Just something you never would have thought of on your own. So it's just good connection.
Yeah. It's something.
Friggin' networking.
I think it's something that we've missed. Well, it's definitely something I miss as a virtual business, because it's what I am, as what we all are. We work a lot online, and being able to have those connections is so important. So if I know you've gone over a few things, but if I decided tomorrow that I wanted to do my own live events or activations, what's because I feel you've touched on, there's a lot that goes into these things and the consideration of the attendees. But what's that top tip for someone who's right, I want to start doing in-person events?
100% know what you want out of it and how you are going to engage them. So what is the experience that they're going to have, number one? What's in it for them and what's in it for you?
Yeah.
Then actually do that, structure the event so that you all get the outcomes, right? Whether, if it's lead building, or then have a card on there and say, on the table and say, you've just heard about X, Y, and Z. Do you know anyone that I can contact?
Yeah.
So you've provided value, you've earned the right to ask the question. They can say no, or just ignore the card, but most people actually give you something for it. So
I love that.
And don't be scared about asking for it. It was my biggest fear, like I said, that, and I kept myself so small for so long because of that. But if you lead with value and you actually give them something useful, which is why you have to know them. And I'm not talking about something tangible or a gift or even a tip or a connection or a referral, or that's reciprocal, right? Then I've earned the right to ask. It doesn't mean they have, I've put them on the spot and now they have to say yes, have to do business with me. It's not what I'm about.
Yep.
But it jogs their memory where they go, oh yeah, I thought about this person 2 weeks ago, and life gets busy and I didn't, I was going to do the connection and I forgot. People forget, life is busy. So ask. Yeah. So that's what I would do. Be very informed, or be very clear about who you have in the room, who you don't want in the room, and how you want it structured.
Okay. That's brilliant. I love it. I don't know if I'm quite ready for live events myself, but that's some really great advice.
God, it's the best thing. You are so I'd rather have 50 of them than do one newsletter.
Interesting. I feel you get those warm fuzzies, yeah?
I love it. I just love it because I get into look, I'm so bad. I have to constantly keep reminding myself that I'm almost in charge. I can't just enjoy it. You have to be the mum, and I'm like, I just want to have fun.
I love it.
But it's amazing because if you just have the right people in the room, it's phenomenal what can happen.
Oh, I love it. Okay, then. Well, further to that, now we know that marketing isn't just about new clients. We also know, and I believe this is a good favorite topic of yours, that it's about retaining existing clients. Yes. So I was having a look at your website and I saw a pretty crazy stat that quoted the probability of selling to an existing customer is 70%. Compared to only 12% when selling to a new prospect, which is crazy numbers. So can you give us some tips on how you cultivate a strong and healthy relationship with your customers so that you can retain them in whatever way that may look like for them?
So again, it comes back to knowing them, right? So you constantly have to check your assumptions. So, 3 months ago, me is very different from now me. And your clients and customers are the same. That's why it's so important to listen to them. It's important to read their socials. It's important to read their annual reports. It's important to have that one-on-one coffee with them where they can actually tell you things, the more personal challenges that they wouldn't just put out on social media. It's almost like the story behind the story. That is really, really important to make sure that you are still providing them with value, right? Because if you are still operating under one assumption and they've moved on, there's no value for them. And it also impacts the trust that they have in you, because immediately it'll feel like, oh, she doesn't really get me anymore. Even though it's not a conscious choice or a thought process for them, they will gravitate towards the person that makes them feel connected. So yes, I would, that's one thing I would say, is just keep doing that work, keep asking the questions, keep engaging, and actually do something with the data that you get back. If you're doing a poll, or if you're asking a question, don't just put it out there and good luck and it's just another social media post done. What am I doing with this information? Does it still stack up to the products that I have or the services that I have to sell them or to provide to them? How am I going to communicate that to them? The wording that I get back from them, that becomes your marketing message. So use their words and they'll be like, oh my God, this is exactly how I feel. Yes. Right. So it's just constantly looping through that discovery process and implementation and discovery and implementation. And that's what, if you constantly do that, people know that you've got them. Sometimes they'll be a little bit hesitant and they'll be like, well, she hasn't done anything like this in the past, or I haven't had a bad experience in the past. I'm just going to do it. Because the experience was so good the last time. They have that trust already. You don't have to go through this is who I am. It's almost like a dating process, right? You don't have to go through the 500 coffees before and then trying to, first dates and then this, and oh God, I sound so old. I don't know how, like Tinder or
No, you're fine.
Yeah, it's like, just marry me, right? Because I know all about that.
Look, if only it was that simple, all right?
Well, you smell good. You brush your teeth. You've got a job. I think it's all good.
You have
right?
general hygiene. We're okay.
Yeah. So you don't have to go through all of that going, oh, he actually only brushes his teeth every second day. And, just you know what you're going to get. It does what it says on the box. So decision made. And that's why email lists are so important. It's usually someone who's bought from you before. And if you launch a new product or a service, you launch to those people first, because if they had a good experience with you before, they will do business with you again. The decision has been made. You don't have to go into a marketing spiel and then a sales spiel. It's done.
Yeah, they're already on the hook.
Yeah, it's a why wouldn't you conversation instead of a please would you. Yeah.
So you've basically mentioning about your feeling, like the feeling that customers or people, that relationship feeling with one to the other, really. And you want that to continue and outlast over time. I've got two questions. It's a two-pronged question. One is, how do you create that long-lasting sort of feeling? You've got any strategies or examples of maybe some businesses that you know of that do that well? And then the other aspect of it is mindset. Obviously, to be able to understand your customer and really value what they're saying, I can imagine it's a lot of mindset work if someone doesn't organically think like that or have empathetic nature towards people. So it's a two-pronged question. I'm throwing it at you.
I think that the mindset one is it's easier to answer, because if it's not your thing, get someone that does, whose thing it is, right? So outsource that, because like I said, don't beat that lame horse. It's not going to help. It's just going to hold you back, and your business is going to crumble. So invest in people who know their stuff, learn from them, and then, go and implement, come back, bring back those learnings, test it, and do the same again. But don't try and do it all on your own, because you can't change fundamentally. It's really difficult to change your personality. So if you are going to try and now all of a sudden be Mother Teresa and you're a computer programmer, it's not going to work, right? Even when you think you've got it right, it's going to be wrong, and it's going to impact the way that you show up and the way that you deliver, because you're going to go, it's too hard. I'm crap. I don't know what I'm doing. Blah blah blah. Or you're going to go, oh, that hurt, and I'm not going to do anything right now, right? So either way, you're going to hold yourself back. So I think recognize your strengths and your weaknesses, develop them, but don't let that hold you back. Get people in that do know how to do those things. And then in terms of that, how you foster that experience, it's and I've been trying to remember the name of the book, but she says it's all about moments. So those moments that matter. So sit down, map out your customer's journey with you, and map out the moments that'll matter to them. So in life, we remember moments, right? So buying a new car, it's literally showing up at my first new car, show up at the dealership, and there's a big red bow on it. And I was like, oh, I feel so good. Look at that. I know, right? Because it's a big moment in your life. Number one, you get that new car smell. Number two, there's a bow on it, and it's standing there on a red carpet waiting for you. And number three, I feel like an adult. Like I finally, this has been hard work, but far out, look what I've done, right? So there's the emotional sense of achievement. Plus there's a bit of a status thing, because look at that red carpet. Yeah, that's for me. Look at me, I've arrived. And they do it really well. But life is full of those moments. So make those moments count. My car dealer was phenomenal. Like a year later, they sent me a new car fragrance. Smells like a new car. And then I remember this feeling.
That is on point for market. And I feel like it's creating new car moments, new car memories, and
you're back to the moment, right? And I'm like, oh, that was so cool. And then you look at your car and you're like, maybe it's time. But that's marketing, right? So make it matter. Those things that you think in that journey of working with you. And like I said, do it when you're starting out. It's all assumption based, but keep going back to it. Now, once you've been through a process with one client, get the feedback and then go back there and go, oh, okay, well, I thought this would be a moment, but that was nothing for them. Actually, the moment was here. So what can I do here, either to make it easier for them? Like, can I know in my consulting, about 3 months in, my clients hit a wall because, like I said, we go deep in the first bit. So they emotionally, they hit that wall. But now to counter that, I have stuff that I send out to them, and there's exercises that we do. And it's like, I know the fact that I come to them and say, I know right about now you're feeling like this. They're like, oh, thank God. I didn't want to say anything because, blah, blah, blah. But yes, this is how I feel. Just that makes a huge difference because it reinvigorates and re-engages them to want to push through, and it makes them trust me again because obviously I know what they're going through. So yes, make sure you know your customer and your client's moments. And if you're product-based, it's so easy to use those products in those moments. Look at Coca-Cola and the way that they position. I love Christmas ads, Coca-Cola's Christmas ads. Because they make me cry, right? Even when they're happy ones, they make me cry. And I've never experienced a white Christmas. Oh, I have. Sorry, I lie. I've experienced it once. But it still wasn't a Coca-Cola Christmas, right? And it's like, that's what you want, is the sense of, it's the feeling in it. and that the beauty in it. So think of those things and the emotional investment in those moments and play to that. If people are coming to you out of already, like insurance brokers, it's already something they don't want to pay for. There's something's happened. Like send that, be courteous. Don't if it's a call center, make them feel, number one, ask them if they're okay. Like, do they need help? Do they need, an ambulance or whatever? Then you can go into this, what's happening, or, how can I help you? Mm-hmm. It shows that you're a human being first, and then there's a product later, or a service, or whatever you're paying for. But it shows that I'm invested in you and I want to know about you. Mm-hmm. And again, car, the big four, they've got it really, they've got a down pat. Mm-hmm. If you want to know about the customer experience, look at car dealers. They're very good with that marketing bit and the emotional bit, because no one wants to go and make debts of that magnitude. And when you're buying it, you're like, what am I doing? Yeah. I can't stop myself.
I absolutely love that. I think like making new car moments, I feel like this is like a phrase that I'm going to stick up on my wall, because seriously, it makes me change my thought patterns a little bit around how I do make my clients feel special, and what are those little things that can just change the experience and the journey for them.
You become numb to it, right? Or sort of blind to it, because you have those moments every day. That's sort of what you do, is make those moments happen. So you don't really see the value in it. And I know we've had this discussion one-on-one 100 times. You guys don't know the value that you have for someone like me, right? Because you do it so easily and it comes so naturally. It's not the design, Alicia, for you, less the systems and processes. You take all that noise and it's like I've got creativity and ideas and forward motion, and then I have to do it, and I'm like nothing, right? And I want to cry, because it's like I can see it happening here, and I've got all this here, but in between there's a missing bit. The link's broken, and you guys, you are that link, right? So that's a magic moment for me when I get the design back from you, Alicia, and it's phenomenal and on point, and I connect to it, and I know my clients are going to love it, and I know that's phenomenal. For you, it's just getting something done, right?
Yeah, literally.
When you do the systems and you make everything work, and all that, the frustration and feelings of this is too hard, and why can't I figure this out? I'm an intelligent person. Why is this so difficult for me? You take all of that away, and it's like I can breathe, and thank God, because now I can get onto other things, and you free up my mindset, right? There's huge value in knowing the experience that people have, and playing to that. Like, use it. It's a thing, and even on the days where you go, why am I doing this? Anyone can go and design.
Hands up, done.
You look at that and you're like, oh, that's why. Now I remember. It's almost like your own little cheerleader again.
Yeah, and I think it's super, super important. So again, like, we come back to community and having people around you that can support you in various ways, whether it is design, technical, or even just having someone that you can call up and be like, oh my God, today was the worst.
Yeah. And even it's the vulnerability, right? It's like we discussed this earlier, where I can go and say, I have no flipping idea, Jess, and I feel so stupid, and I don't like feeling stupid, because then I don't do anything.
Yeah, it does become a wall, but that's why we've got each other. We support each other.
Which is this community that you're building is exactly that. And it's like, and I know I said this before, but it's curated. So I know by association, I'll have the same experience with everyone else in the community that I have with you guys, so it takes that fear again and that hesitation about taking action away from me. Because why wouldn't I?
Oh, thanks so much, Mel. Well, it's been Oh, amazing. It truly has. There's been so many key takeaways from this discussion. And I think so much that people can learn from and build and grow from as well. Now, to wrap things up, I believe you've just opened your latest program called Success. So we just want to know a little bit more about what Success is about and who it's for and how people can get involved.
So Success is aimed at CEO, C-level SMEs. So it's difficult because some people call themselves CEOs and other people call themselves SME owners. So it's anyone who's running a business that wants to go deep into their marketing and the strategy side of it, and getting the right activities at play on the right platforms with a plan. So, you know, what are we doing? How are we doing it? So there's a lot more than just the marketing in this plan, in this offering, excuse me. There's a lot of strategy, overall business strategy. So, you know, that sort of comes off the conversations of what it is that you want, where do you want to go? Do you have the right people? You know, all of that sort of stuff. And they don't have anyone else in the business to bounce this off, and it's holding them back. I am that, you know, I fill that gap where I'm the advisor, but I can also coach in a lot of things. Again, I can connect with the right people. We do scenario planning. We do, you know, we go deep into that. And it sort of gives you the benefit of almost a management team, but it's just you and me, if that makes sense. Because I can also bring in the right people at the right stage of business. So that's what it's about. And it's also that personal development that goes through that, right? So different level, different devil. Every stage is going to bring up different things from a mindset perspective, and it's also going to bring up different things from a business perspective. And it's leveraging all those lessons that I've been able not only learn myself the hard way, but also other clients I've been exposed to. So it's almost like what you should do and what you should look out for, and then awareness. It just makes business a lot easier. It's a 6-month engagement, because like I said, marketing is not a 30-day activity, but it gets all the right systems and processes and activities and behaviors into your business. And then sort of from there, it's, you know, month by month. That's what it's about. And the link is on my website. So melissalithgow.com.au. If anyone wants to have a chat, happy to do that. But I just wanted to say one thing. I think people overcomplicate marketing because it's the new buzz. It's the new bro marketing thing out there where they promise you the world and you pay all this money, and it's so frustrating and so overwhelming. Just be you. Pick one platform, pick your message, be very clear on where you're going, and how you're going to get there and what you are providing. And that's all you need to keep out there. People connect with the authenticity. It's nice to have all flash stuff, but, you know, if you do a reel, then say, hey, the budget's not allowing for a fancy video, you know, so this is what you get, is me on the other side of the iPhone. But the product's pretty bloody good, and this is what it's going to do. But be authentic, you know. I think it's like the One Step Underwear guys. They are fantastic at this. There's nothing fancy about it, but it's all about the product, and people love it. So don't get swept up in all of the, you got to do this and maybe do this and analytics and you know, paid ads. My God, don't even go there yet. So keep it simple. Just do what you do consistently.
Yeah, I love that, because it can be overwhelming, and specifically when you first start, people go, oh my gosh, where do I start? And then you get overwhelmed looking at social media, looking at what other people do. But that is great advice. I think that's fantastic.
And look at your contacts, right? Because and done is better than perfect. Just do something, because that overwhelm stops you from activity. And it's the worst thing you can do for your business. just keep putting one foot in front of the next, and just, leverage your people, take what they say into account, and just try and test.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that. So before I ask you my very last question,
One more,
which is an easy one. So you're obviously doing the success program and you're doing the connected marketing lunch or breakfast or events. What else is in store for you, or what do you have in planned that you can divulge?
You make it sound a lot more interesting. Now I feel like I need to live up to that.
Oh, no, it is. Because I don't, it's the zone of genius, right? We talked about.
Yeah. Look, like I said, I love the one-on-one the in-person thing. So, but like I said, it's not a good business model because it takes time and effort, and you can only reach so many people. So what I'm leveraging into is a lot more speaking. So it's one to many, but it is still a bit of a personal. So it's like the best of both. And that's also, so it's a great opportunity if from a positioning point of view, any business out there, speaking opportunities, build your email list, and people get to know you firsthand, and they get a feel for you firsthand. So they already know if they're going to be on your list or not. And the feel that they have, they walk out of there going, all right, that was so great. I really like this point. And yes, I'm a follow. Instead of that social media, very impersonal journey that you have to go through and funnel, do the speaking bit, do the one to many, but make sure that you get an email address out of it, because then again, like I said, it's much easier to launch to that email address because they know, like, and trust you already. So concentrate on things like that. Also, in terms of positioning, if you can sponsor something, get your brand out there and make sure that it's something that's in alignment with your business or your product or your service or your vision, values, and who you want to attract. So make sure that your decision makers will see your brand at the right place. And that's sort of how you can supercharge. And that's what I'm concentrating on at the moment, is supercharging that positioning more. And getting myself, because I love being in the background. It's taken, we all do. It's taken me almost 5 years to get to this stage where I'm like, I'm going to have to do it. I've tried avoiding it. I've tried everything else. And now I'm feeling the pain where I'm just going to go, okay, let's see where this can go. And already it's proven the point. So I can't,
That's
where it is, Alicia. So if you have speaking opportunities, then I'm here.
And finally, where can our listeners find you?
Oh my gosh. So it's on the website melissalithgow.com.au, and then on social media, Melissa Lithgow, and LinkedIn.
Yes.
And it's all Melissa Lithgow.
I love it. Thank you so much, Mel.
Thank you.
That was so good.